that still remains. Hello, I am Annalise Marie Frank, mostly known around the world as Anne Frank. I was born on June 12, 1929 in Frankfurt, Germany, to my lovely parents, Otto Frank, and my mom, Edith Frank. I have one older sister whose name is Margot. In 1935, I went to school for the first time at Montessori Lyceum in Amsterdam, which is where I earned my reputation as a fun, energetic girl. While I was there, the Germans took their control one step further and made all the Jews wear a yellow star on our clothes. In 1940, the Germans invaded the Netherlands and made all the Jewish kids go to a certain school, which was the Jewish Lyceum 6th Montessori School. Shortly after, my sister received a letter ordering her to report to a work camp in Germany in 1942. Because of that letter, on July 6, 1942, my family and I went into hiding in a small attic behind my father's business, where the entrance was hidden by a movable bookcase, later known as the secret annex. We were joined by my father's business associate, Herman Van Pels, his wife August, and their son Peter. A couple months later, we were joined by Fritz Pfeiffer, a dentist of a family friend. It was there that we lived in constant fear of being found, and we were prohibited from the outside world. We were to remain quiet during the daytime in order to avoid detection from others working down below. I was so grateful for a family friend, Lee Pease, who risked everything to bring my family and I food and information. I passed time by journaling about my feelings and observations in a red plaid diary I received for my 13th birthday 1 month before I went into hiding. In my plaid diary, I wrote all about my life in hiding, the impressions I had of others living in the annex, my feelings of loneliness, and my frustrations of having no privacy. But I also journaled about the typical teenage things, like my crushes on boys and arguments I had with my mom and sister. On August 4th, 1944, I and the other 7 were arrested by the Gestapo. They learned about the secret hiding place by an anonymous tipster. From there, we were sent to Westerbork, a holding camp in the northern Netherlands. Margot, my mom, and I were put on transport to Auschwitz extermination camp. The journey took 3 days on train, and we were packed closely together like cattle. There was little to no food and water, and only a tiny bucket for a toilet. 350 people from my transport were immediately taken to the gas chambers to be put to death. Margot, my mom, and I were sent to a work camp, and my dad was sent to a work camp for men. In early November, my sister and I were transported again to Bergen-Belsen. It was very cold and wet with a lack of food, and there were so many contagious diseases. My sister and I contracted typhus, and in February 1945, Margot passed away. I was shortly after her in the beginning of March, at the age of only 16. Our bodies were thrown into a massive grave like we were just another statistic. A few weeks later, British forces liberated the camp on April 15, 1945. My mom died of starvation at Auschwitz, and my father, well, he was the only one to live out of the 7. After my writings were found by Mia Pease and returned to my father, he compiled them into one big manuscript, which was published in the Netherlands in 1947 under the title Rear Annex. They were later published in 1952 in the United States. My diary has become one of the most famous in the world, and the place where we hid for so many months has become a museum for the whole world to see. I have become one of the most famous young authors of all time. The Diary of a Young Girl is one of the most widely read books and has been translated into 65 different languages. It provides a chance for young kids to learn about the Holocaust from someone their own age. So remember, just like me, don't think of all the misery, but the beauty that still remains, just like I had to in a time of chaos, cruelness, and sadness.